Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Horror Trans. My name is Stephanie Bree. I'm a transgender woman and I talk about all things horror. And for today's episode of Horror Icons, I'm digging into the bins and I'm talking about someone you've probably maybe only heard his name and might not be that familiar with his work. And the man is Vincent Price. Now, according to Wikipedia, his real name or full name was Vincent Leonard Price Jr. He got his start in acting back in the 30s, but really came to prominence in the 50s and 60s when he started doing a series of horror movies. Um, he's been in a lot of lesser known horror movies, known at the time, but many of them haven't really, I would say, don't have lasting legacies outside of a couple of remakes. Most of these films are largely forgotten. His most notable films are the original House of Wax, the original The Fly, the original House on Haunted Hill, Return of the Fly, The Tingler, which is kind of an interesting story in itself, The Last Man on Earth, Witchfinder General, The Abominable Dr. Phoebes, and Theater of Blood. He also worked with Roger Corman on House of Usher, The Pit and the Pendulum, The Haunted Palace, and The Mask of the Red Death, as well as playing Batman or Egghead on the Batman television series. But he also did a lot of voice acting. His last movie, um, just before he died, was Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands, which is sort of a throwback to, silent era horror, which he was not a part of, but a lot of people think he was because he's an old dude. And he could have been. I mean, he was acting at the time those silent movies were, or those early black and white Universal monster movies were made, but he wasn't doing horror at that time. Now, according to Wikipedia, which is where I'm getting this information, obviously, he was in more than 100 films, but he also did television, stage, and radio productions, as well as voice acting. Um, Prominent voice roles, it listed him as uh, one of the villains in The Great Mouse Detective from 1986, which is what we refer to as the dark ages of Disney animation. So it's not a great film, but he's in it. And he did receive a few accolades over the years. Now, of the movies he's been in, I've only seen House on Haunted Hill and The Fly, the original The Fly and the original House on Haunted Hill. Most of these movies, I've only heard about them in passing, usually on lists of horror movies you need to see or a list of horror movies you don't need to see, things like that. So they tend to be more like the B level horror movies, not like the big budget A list blockbusters. Um, so you could argue he's a B movie icon as well. Um, it's debatable whether or not you consider his films B movies or not, though. But it does look like he slowed down in the 70s. He didn't do as much, opting more for television and radio dramas, it looks like. And then shifting mostly to voice acting in the 80s. It does look like he was a voice on the 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo as a character named Vincent Van Gool. That's interesting. Price he lived a pretty long life. It looks like he was 82 when he died. So he, got his start in the early days of Hollywood and almost made it through the whole century. He got pretty damn close. I mean, he made it all the way up to 1990, starting in the 30s. So he had a robust career. Um, it does look like he studied acting in college. Looks like he went to a few different colleges, and he had a degree in English and a minor in art history from Yale. So that's pretty impressive. It looks like his first stage appearance, it was in 1935 in a play Chicago at the Gate Theatre in London. Is he British? I wonder. No, it says he was an American actor. Okay. Art historian, art collector, and gourmet cook. Interesting. Price has 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, one for motion pictures and one for television. That's pretty cool. So I don't know a lot about Vincent Price. Like Lee, chances are most of you probably don't either. But if you do, leave a comment and let me know. Have you seen any of his movies and what did you think of them? Stay cool.